Hey guys, it's Sandra.
Hey guys, it's Maria.
And
Long
today,
time no see.
yeah, it's been a while. Today we actually have a special
Oh, wonderful.
guest.
Yes. I'm sorry, honey. Go ahead. I'm just
Do you want
excited.
to do this or do you want me
No,
to?
no, I'm sorry, guys.
she's she
Hi
is
again,
way
Joy.
she's probably more excited than Joy is. I mean, I don't know. but
Joy's probably rolling her eyes right now.
yeah, she's probably like
Oh,
these
were we
guys are
allowed to
stupid.
use her name?
We're
Yes, that's fine.
interviewing her.
Okay. I just want to make sure because sometimes, I didn't. It's
We
okay if
probably
they
we
want
shouldn't
to.
use names of anyone else. But
Right. Yeah.
okay. So let me get my questions here. All right. So you actually spent quite a significant amount of time in Florida's um in the state of Florida's custody. So can you share a bit about your experience as a ward of the state and what life was like for you during that time?
Oh, absolutely. My name's Joy, like you said. I was a ward of the state from the age of 4 until I was emancipated at the age of 16.
Wow.
That's a
That was a
long
long
time.
time.
Yeah. So, what was it like when you were awarded the state? What does that mean?
Okay, being a ward of the state means I was in foster care, which means a lot of times kids are put in to foster care either temporarily, um, either by their parents or they're actually removed from the home. Sometimes if it's temporary, they're removed from the home, whether the parents, sometimes parents are having a difficulty just lifing, just doing every day-to-day things. Some people are removed for, their parents doing drugs and whatnot. um, with my case, the state actually was intervened. I was 4 years old, and I only weighed about under 30 pounds at 4 years old.
Oh my god.
Good God.
And just to give you an idea of that, my daughter, when she was born, she was over 10 pounds, and she was 22 inches long. So
And
you
this
think of
was
a
at
four,
birth.
yeah. So you think, of a 4-year old, that's not a real good weight.
Wow.
So, I was getting, the state was getting a lot of reports about my mother due to my weight, missing hair. Our neighbors, were making several calls. And yeah, I had, I was living in a 2-bedroom trailer, and there was 8 of us kids. Plus, I had a stepsister.
Oh my
So, I mean,
gosh.
that's 8, 9, 10, 11. That's over 11 people living in a 2-bedroom single wide. So,
Oh my
Wow.
so
gosh. You
yeah,
had that was a two-bedroom trailer.
yeah, single wide.
Oh
Hmm.
gosh.
So
Yeah.
I don't know if I missed it. I'm sorry, I was trying to deal with a dog. But when you're awarded this to the state, does that mean did you stay in other people's houses or were you confined to
Like a
I don't know,
facility or
like
something.
an orphanage or something like that?
Well, it can go either two ways. Either, somebody turns you into, I'm sure you guys have heard the reference to CPS, Child Protective Services,
Yeah.
or, you're sometimes a school will report a child. In my case, because there were so many reports from neighbors and the school and, people that were in the house, because both of my sisters had made complaints, in regards to my parents.
Right.
So I was actually um, forcibly removed, which means the state actually came to the home, put my parents in cuffs, and took me away. And
Wow.
at that time, they're not, especially at 4 years old, that is, I mean, it's not a baby. No, babies at times are a lot easier. because they don't really, babies are very resilient. They don't really even sometimes even notice the things that are going on around them. So at 4, they really couldn't place me in a quick foster home, because some people were like, oh, oh, it's not a baby,
I was,
it's a kid, you know.
that really
So that
upsets
that
me.
yeah, that kind of puts people off to wanting to open up their home. So they took me away from my home and put me in youth haven, which youth haven is a it's like a children's home.
So you were basically punished for having bad parents.
Mhm.
I mean, by
Well,
not
yeah,
by not really anybody accepting you at 4 years old. I mean, I wouldn't go by age. I would go by, that child going through a lot of stuff and try to get them a stable home. It's
Yes.
sad that there weren't people that were willing to do that.
right,
Yeah.
right. It's just they're so you think of in a state, you have so many cities and you have so many counties, and each county has different rules and stipulations. And when you're in a situation where a child's being harmed, you know, it's kind of hard. You got to make some fast decisions, and you got to do it fairly quickly.
Right.
So yeah. And at the time, when they were taking me away, because I can remember, I mean, I have very, very good memory of that day, like it was yesterday.
That was traumatic.
'Cause my sister was like 6 years older than me, and she was actually supposed to go with me. So I was under the assumption that, she was going to be going with me. If not in the same car, then she would be like right behind me. And what was scary is when you get to the place and you think somebody's coming, you think your sister's right behind you, and, they're not there. I think that was more traumatizing than them coming to pick you up.
Oh yeah. I can imagine. So yeah.
It's really sad too.
So how do you think being awarded a state impacted your sense of identity and belonging?
Well, when I was a word of the state, you really don't have a name. Um, you have you have a number. It's almost like, the only thing you can really compare it to is, being in type of a prison system, because you don't go by your name. You go by a number that is in your case file, and that's what you're referred to. Usually the last 4 numbers of whatever that case file is. If Maria was one, she would have 4 numbers. If you were a case, you would have 4 numbers. So it wouldn't be, oh, Zandra, you're going to be going to this foster home or this group home. It would be 1847. Okay, you have 10 minutes, get packed up because you're leaving. You're going somewhere,
Oh
you know.
wow.
So they could. Why wouldn't they just? I mean, as a if you being a child when that happened, why couldn't they have just used your name? That's I don't. I don't understand
That
that.
has to impact you on a
Yeah,
psychological level at some point, just not
they can.
just referring to you as a number all the time.
Yeah,
That really has to kind of impact your mental health at some point.
Oh yeah, absolutely, for sure. It definitely did.
Now, did you have any support systems during that time? And if you did, um, what were they, how were they made available to you under the care of the state?
Well, when you're in the care of the state, you're usually assigned a social worker, which I had several, several of them. Some of them would, become social workers, and you'd have them for a year, or you'd have them for 2 weeks, or you'd have them for a month, and they would, be transferred to another district or another county or something, or they'd retire on you. Um,
they
but
would
yeah,
what? They
they would
retired.
retire. They would retire on you.
Did you ever
when
have
you're,
this happen?
oh yeah, yeah,
Oh my.
yeah.
So they
I was
stopped. They
known
quit
as,
their jobs while you were there,
oh
basically.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh
So
my.
they had just kind of known me for so long. It was always kind of a joke that I knew so many of them. So whenever they would have a retirement party, they would usually try to contact me and say, because I was kind of known as the baby face or the poster child, because I was in the system for so long.
Oh God.
You're 14, 15 years old, you've got people coming to you and saying, hey, I'm done. I'm out of here. I put in my 30 years or I put in my 20 years, but before I say peace out, I just had to find you and come and say, you know, I'm done. I'm giving it up, and you just keep on trucking and keep being you. But
Just
I
live your
just can't
life,
do that.
whether you like it or not, because they're not going to be in there to help you anymore.
Well, no, they were just saying goodbye. You have some that are like that, and then you have some that are just so close to your heart.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that I had, one of mine was Pam. She was out of Bonita Springs. And a lot of times she wasn't even my caseworker, but she would always, check in on me, see where I was, pop in and see me. And, really they're not supposed to. They're really not supposed to do that. But you always have those special people, I was just, I actually just texted one of my foster mothers, um, earlier this week because
Oh.
I found out, she's still in North Fort Myers, and she's still being awesome. She's still being, she's still working in runaway shelters and everything else.
Oh
And
wow.
I just so happened to get her
Awesome.
number, and I'm like, wow,
That's
this was
awesome.
35 years ago. And it's people like that. And I just out of the blue, I got her phone number and I just texted her. I didn't even say my name. I said, wow, are there still angels like you floating around? She said,
Oh.
oh my goodness. She said, who is this? I said, if I tell you, I'd probably have to kill you. I said, just think of the song because, it was always a joke with me growing up because of my name, happy, happy, joy, joy. That song,
Oh yeah.
that's an old school song. So I just said, happy, happy. And that's all I wrote. And literally, it wasn't even a minute later, and she wrote in big letters, "Joy" across, came across the screen. So she knew exactly who I was.
Oh.
So you have people like that that you remember for a lifetime for sure.
So
Well.
you were lucky and had some good people in your life.
I did. Well, when you're in there for quite a while, you come across all different kinds, people from all different walks of life, people that are red, yellow, black, and white. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and so you have some good people, you have some scary people, and you have some really, really good people.
Good.
Well, I'm
Good.
glad you did. I'm glad you had a few.
Um. What were some of the bigger challenges that you faced in I think you might have already answered this, like, people retiring on you and people not wanting to adopt um older children and things like that. But were there any other bigger challenges you faced during your time as a ward of the state? And if so, how did you navigate those?
Yeah, I thought about that question, and uh, the one thing that with me describing it, I think the only way that I could maybe describe it to you is, think about kind of the last 15 years, of your life, and think about everything that you own, uh, being in one little grocery bag, a Food City bag, let's say, or a Dollar General bag. Um,
Wow.
that's kind of, you know, that's a huge challenge to to think about now. It's like how, how did I go that long, and every, stuff that's in just a little teeny tiny grocery bag is just so sacred to you, you know.
Yeah.
That makes
Well, what
sense.
did you celebrate? Get gifts along the way? And I mean, obviously, if you had like a grocery bag size, that's you didn't get much. I mean, I know it's not about the gifts, but I mean, over the years, surely wouldn't
Well,
you have gotten?
in group homes you don't, because they don't celebrate Christmas like that. They don't, you do a tree, and you do, they do, like, they'll have a couple days of Hanukkah, a couple days of, um, you know, the different religions, but they don't pass out gifts because you don't have anywhere to put them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's, when you're in group homes. And then when you're in foster homes, you can't, because you can't take things with you. You can't leave one foster home and take a bike with you. You can't leave a foster home and take a toy box with you, or, you know,
That's sad.
It really
well,
is.
it's not,
It is.
it's not because I'm obsessed with dollhouses now.
Hey,
You do great
I've
work too.
seen this is yeah. If everybody that watches this video, listen, Joy is a gifted artist and she recreates homes,
Oh
literally.
yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen your work. I want to move into one of those. So if you ever figure out how to shrink me, I'm going to get in there.
Oh, remember that movie, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? That's
Yeah.
my girl.
Honey, I shrunk Maria. Okay, that was tacky. But I love your stuff. I'm telling you guys, this woman is the one to go to if you ever want your house like a little doll house, or even the birds love their homes. I'm telling you, they love their little bird houses and stuff. So I want to be a bird.
Oh my god. This is
Oh, it
classic
got
mamas.
silent. Joy, I'm sorry, honey. I just love your
Oh,
stuff.
honey, I was getting tickled to death. I was thinking of different styles of birdhouses. You're fine.
Bird body with her head on it.
God. Oh boy, I opened up a whole new world, didn't
What
I?
have you done?
Oh, oh Lord.
so so
On to the next question, honey.
so how do you think being a ward of the state might have shaped your perspectives on family or relationships or even your own independence?
Um, I think probably, eh, mostly, I think it probably instills the fear of cherishing what you do have. When you do meet people, you keep them really close, sometimes too close to the bosom. But, you know, I think you do that just, from the fear of having that kind of stuff taken from you. So when you do make a new friend, or you do, make an acquaintance, I think you do value it a lot more, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's a gift in itself, isn't it, honey? So you do
Yeah.
For
take
sure.
that with you.
Oh, absolutely.
Now, what would you say that what are some misconceptions or stereotypes about children and teenagers in the foster care system that you've encountered and that you want to um, put straight? You know.
Oh, absolutely. That is one of the, like, number one things right there. And stereotypes to me, labels and abbreviations. I touched on it a little bit. um, is things like, uh, you know, when the court is speaking to you when you were a child that that is a word of the state, or if they're speaking to your foster parents, everything is labeled and abbreviated. You know, like I explained to you guys with the
Yeah.
numbers. You're labeled. You have a big thick case file, and you have TFC, and you see that as a kid, and you're like, what in the world is TFC? THP dash M, what is that? You know, TOP, what is that? Everything is abbreviated. Everything has labels. TFC is therapeutic foster care. That means, um, that's the only type of foster homes and things, that you can go to, that where people are actually trained, to be therapeutic foster homes. THP-M is transitional housing placement. These are they're abbreviations. It's not how you just it's not how one should be described.
Yeah.
And a lot of kids that are in the system, and a lot of kids that are in foster homes, and a lot of foster parents, that do decide they want to do this. They get this paperwork and they're like, what on earth? What is a TSCF? You have to have a college degree just to be able to get through all their terminologies. Foster kids, people in the state, uh, juveniles, no matter where they're at, they're not a number and they're not an abbreviation.
Yeah.
So, what may be shorthand for you, or, maybe uh, a, a brief abbreviation to explain something, you have to remember that foster kid is listening to every single thing that comes out of your mouth.
Oh
Everything.
yeah.
Right. I didn't think about
You
that, but
know,
yeah.
so that's probably just my biggest thing is them labels, and just you know it's just terrible that it has to be like that. There's got to be a better way of doing things. They need to find a better way.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, there needs to be a lot of reform, and it from what you've described so far, it sounds like they didn't really prioritize the mental health, or just general well-being of their wards.
See that? Can I say something? That really shocks me how the system is able to judge. I mean, it's a lot of times it is cut and dry and they're just lousy parents. But when they take that child, that's a form of abuse by not calling them by their name, not allowing them, and I don't think we brought that up. How come you can't take your toys from one house to another? I didn't understand that. And expecting you to be able, at the drop of a hat, get used to another family.
Yeah.
In a way, that system sucks. I'm sorry, but it does. And in a way, the system that's supposed to protect you sounds like it's not intentionally, I guess. I mean, they have to do something to identify a child, but that's a form of abuse in itself. So the system's not perfect either.
No, definitely
Yeah,
not.
it's just so many of the caseworkers, and the CPS workers, caseworkers, social workers, guardian ad litem, um, they have piles and piles and piles of cases. You know, um, they have so many. One person can have up to hundreds of kids. That they're having to deal with, and it has to be dispersed better.
Yeah.
They do it with they try to do it with teachers. They try to keep 20, 25 kids in a classroom for one person. What I think it should be the same way for caseworkers,
Yeah.
and social workers.
Right. That's a that's smart. That is. They could learn a lot from the kids that were actually in the system, like yourself. They
That
should
would just
listen.
alleviate. Yeah, they. I just think that that would alleviate just a lot of issues.
Now, how do you think that your experiences over the years have influenced your life trajectory and where you want to go and your goals and your life goals?
Well, I've had so many people over the last 50 years. They say, uh, especially when I was still back in Florida, and they're like, I saw you in the newspaper, so many times, and I've seen you on waiting lists for adoption services and things like that. How did you make it through it? You should really write a book. you know that's one of my favorite things that people love to say to me. They're like, 30 foster homes,
Oh my
you
God,
know
yeah.
um three adopted homes, and how many group homes have you been in? Like how? How do you what when you're in that life, you don't know what normal is. You
Yeah.
see what I mean? It's not, I don't, back then and even now, that's what I was used to. That was the norm for me. So the only choice that you have is to survive. You can either survive or you can roll over and die. That's it. You know?
Yeah. It's like you didn't really have much of a choice to start with. They
Yeah.
kind of just came in and made that your
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of when you live with that from age 4 to 16. You don't know that there is a difference. You just assume that everybody else kind of has the same situations. I really don't think that any of it really phased me. But now that my kids are grown and they're gone, now it's when it's hitting. Everything just kind of just hits you. It just hits you like a Mack truck, just out of the blue. Because
Yeah.
that's when you stop and think, wait a minute, no, that's not how growing up should have been. That's things should have been different. That's not the way holidays should have been.
Yeah.
That's not the way people talk to people. So yeah, it's a little bit of an eye opener. But when you're going through it, you're just like, I don't know, I'm trying to get to tomorrow just like you are, So
Absolutely. Yeah. So
You're
look,
doing amazing so far.
you are. You are.
I have my good days and bad, for sure.
Did you say warp tour?
No, she said
No,
for sure, honey. It's
Oh,
that accent, Joy. Ah, Sandra Marie.
I'm sorry. I don't know what. Oh Lord. I'm
I'm
sorry. I
sorry.
thought that's what you said.
Joy, we're not. I'm laughing at her because she's so.
I'm an
it
idiot.
was
That's why.
no. I heard what she said. I heard what she said. It reminded me of that movie, The Divine Secrets of the Yayas. Did you ever watch that?
No.
I've never watched
No.
it either.
I
I
have
tell
to
you
now
what,
though.
as mom and daughter, you both need to sit down and watch that together. But one of the characters in that movie, she says, "Excuse me, I did not understand you. Did you say will or did you say ill?" And I about died.
Oh
I don't know.
Couldn't
God.
believe
Sandra and I
it.
could stop stop long enough to watch a movie. We're too busy laughing at each other.
Yeah, it's the time.
Oh God.
Now, looking back though, is there any advice that you would want to give other children that have gone through similar circumstances?
Uh, what I would give other kids, there's really no advice. There's no formula. Um, because each case is so new, so unique. Each kid's unique.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
for kids, it's just even if you are a parent, you can't even sit down and try to uh, see things from their side because you just have no clue, kind of what they've gone through. It's just taking it, just one day at a time. That's all you can do because no matter how hard you try, you know, some kids will say, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to get straight A's. I'm going to be the best kid. I'm going to make sure my clothes don't get dirty because if my clothes get dirty, maybe my foster parents won't want me anymore."
Oh,
Or
oh,
if I eat too much, maybe they'll think I'm overweight and they won't want me anymore. Just worry about you. Don't worry about trying to make everybody around you happy. Just try to just take it one day at a time and do things that make you happy. Because the foster home that you're in, they're going to have 100 kids behind you. The group home that you're in, they're going to have thousands of kids behind you. They're not going to remember. So
Yeah.
you do things that make you happy. Be good, you know, be good to yourself and be good to others. Follow, common sense and of course law. But do things for you. Do things that make you happy.
and
That was good
one thing I
advice.
did want, what?
Go ahead, Maria. I'll be the referee here. Tag you in it.
Well, now I almost forgot what I wanted, how I wanted to say it. But one thing I know I've seen this on TV shows and stuff, but I'm just curious. When you were became of age, did they toss you basically out into the street, or did they ease you from the homes into another place and try to help you with so many kids that they have out in the system? I guess probably not, right? You
Well,
probably got tossed
they
out.
they used to years and years. I mean, I'm talking back in like the 1960s and stuff. Sometimes, they would do that, but they do have programs in place. You can go through school programs like independent living, which means you live in like a group setting and you go to school, but you don't go to school to learn. Uh, uh,
Go put in the bedroom. I'm on live.
it's okay.
Sorry, guys.
I've got three dogs of my own.
Ugh,
I am used to it. Mom's face is priceless.
I almost gave me a heart. Shut it. Sorry, guys. Hush. Before okay. Hi, guys. Now you've seen my
The dark side of owning little
the dark.
dogs.
That's your brother, Sandra.
Oh,
James.
oh, hey, hey, man.
I almost had a heart attack. I'm sorry, Joy, honey.
So, um, so okay. Now, in your bio, you described an outbound military style program that you said actually resulted in the deaths of a couple of your friends. Now, what was
Oh,
this program and how did you end up
Oh,
there?
yeah. The program's called Outward Bound. It started in the 1960s, and it's actually still going on today. Um, and the Outward Bound program is a program which parents can put their kids in, and with kids that are, maybe having issues or having trouble with school or, just kind of life in general. Um, It's been around, like I said, since the 1960s, and and what you do is you go through the program. The program can be um, anywhere from 4 weeks to 12 weeks, and and since now this is I do kind of have to throw a little uh, PSA, announcement. Outward Bound has been um, in trouble quite a few times since the 1960s.
Wow.
The Outward Bound program is a nonprofit program, and they have never, ever uh, had to stand in front of a judge or juror.
Wow.
But since 1960, 19 actually 1970s is when they started having a few issues. They've had over 24 people in the program that have lost their life
Oh my
to this
God.
program.
You mean the
Yeah.
kids that were in the
Yes.
system?
Yes, they had 13 student accident deaths,
Oh, I'll bet you're saying
13
that with a
student,
quote, aren't you?
3 instructor deaths,
Oh,
and
Wow.
4 deaths that were unrelated to accidents. So you figure that one out yourself.
Oh my God.
do you think that all
Um,
of those deaths were accident? The ones with the 13 and the 4 instructors were accidental, though.
well, that's what I'm saying. That's the cases that they actually had to report themselves,
Wow,
and that's what they reported as.
wow.
Yes, yes, we have had deaths. Like I said, they have not been reprimanded or anything. They've never had to go in front of a jury or a judge, but they have stated themselves, and it does state on their um, on different, if you look up that program, it will pull up, that there were 13 student accidental deaths, 3 instructor deaths, and 4 deaths unrelated to accidents. And that is,
Wow.
listed. And it was just, it's a program that um, I don't think that the state really uses them, in, much anymore because of the issues that they had. Um, Now they have things like, boys and girls boot. I'm sure you've heard of them, boy and girl boot camps. They have
Yeah.
things like that now.
Yeah.
No, is that like a core program or something? Outward
Yeah,
Bound.
it's our bound is something separate. The state doesn't really use them very much
Okay,
because of the history that they have.
right.
So the state, more leans on boys and girls programs, things like, the girls' homes and the boy, they have things that are called the boys' homes, the girls' homes, and that's what they call them. They're camps that are set up all over the United States, where they can place kids, if they're too old to be in like children's homes and group homes, things like that, you know. Uh, but yeah, I went through their 12-week program.
Oh my
I
gosh.
actually had lost a friend of mine. Most of the deaths that went through Outward Bound, and that are listed in all the reports when you read online, are cardiac arrest, mountain falls,
Oh my
drownings,
God.
Mountain
and
Falls.
mountain falls. Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Why do you
And
think that they've not been investigated? This might be a
because
whole nother story.
because they are actually they're a nonprofit. So they've reported it to authorities, and
Wow.
you know it's just
That's just crazy.
it,
That shouldn't even matter, though.
right, right. And out of those deaths I told you, a lot of people will just choose to, now the outward bound programs, they're all over the place. They're in Canada, they're in
Wow.
Australia, They are in uh, places like New Zealand, the Philippines. I mean, they have them everywhere.
Wow.
So, imagine if you're an American, if you're a rich kid and your rich parents, sent you, that's one thing. But if you're a ward of the state and you're hiked off to go to Canada, to do some kind of program, you don't got no passport. It's not like you can just run away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, so a lot of the kids from that, they either fell out or they just disappeared on their own.
Wow. God.
Never even heard of. And there weren't, there were so many kids in the state that just disappeared that they didn't have any parents to report saying, hey, something's up with this,
Well,
you
that
know.
would be a perfect place to die if you want. It's what you wanted because obviously nobody looks into this place,
Oh yeah.
these
Right,
places. Just
right.
because it's a nonprofit. I mean, if you wanted to kill somebody, send them to Outward Bound. You no, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
seriously, that's something. This is a whole nother
It,
show, guys.
it was rigorous. I mean, it was 12 weeks of, I mean, some of the stuff that they had you do, even the Marine Corps, like boot camp at like Camp Lejeune and stuff, round on. So, I mean, it was tough.
Wow.
It was definitely not for the faint of heart. Not for the faint of heart. But
Wow.
I got through it. I graduated, did my 12 weeks, and next, you know,
Now, I guess this might be going. I don't know if this is going backwards or forwards, but you said that you eventually you had a 19-year-old sister that got custody of you, but she was an addict at the time. Do
yeah,
you remember that experience and what it was like for you
yeah.
living?
I went through so many different foster homes. It was, just getting because I was temporary. So, which meant, I would have like a nice adopted family, come in and try to adopt me. And with me being in temporary foster care, when it would be time, because when you're a ward of the state, you have to usually report to court every 6 months. You have to show up with your caseworker, you have to go in front of the judge. They want to know what you're doing, how you're doing, whatever, and then they go from there on whether they want to place you somewhere else or if you're going to stay, where you're at. Well, with me being temporary, it meant that my mom did not sign over the papers for me. So anytime things were somewhat looking decent, here she comes, you know, and pop up. So that's what it wasn't. I mean, I was not ever listed as um like a delinquent or like a person that would like harm. Some kids did have issues with hurting their foster parents, catching their houses on fire. um in some cases foster kids have been known to murder their foster parents. I didn't have anything like that on me. But I would be in a foster home, and that foster home would only be like a respite or an emergency foster home, which meant you could only stay there tops 2 weeks, because then they would have to put you in a more so when you go through homes like that and you're going through, I mean, I think in 1 year I went, it was something like six plus 6 to 8 homes in 1 year.
Wow.
So if you
Wow.
think about it, that's almost one place every month.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in Florida, that's not a very big state. you know, when you do that for about 4 years, you go through a lot of places and they start running out of places to take you. So, and that was beginning to kind of almost be my problem. And so one of my sisters, like I said, I was the youngest of 8 kids. So, my sister, got wind of, oh, yeah, she's a ward of the state and she's, you know, um, when she got wind of that and that I had state money, she contacted everybody she could possibly get her hands on to try to get custody of me because she wanted that. She was married at 16, or excuse me, she was married at 19. And
Oh
at the
gosh.
time, I think I was about 11 or 12. And they gave her custody of me, because she was a family member. They didn't do a very good background check, you know, on her or her home. And pretty much, I mean, I went to live with my sister and I, I pretty much paid them to be their housekeeper and their babysitter,
Oh my God.
Wow.
because there was a stipend that they were, getting every month. And, that's another thing that really aggravates me, a lot of people out there, oh, I'm going to become a foster parent because I'm going to supplement my income. You're not getting a whole lot for a kid.
No.
You're getting enough for a little bit of groceries and, a little bit of gas. You're not getting a whole lot per kid.
Right.
So, a lot of people, they're just like, well, I'm going to sign up for that so I can get that check every month. And boy, are they rudely, you know,
Awakened.
surprised,
Yeah.
awakened, when that does come in because, it's not a whole lot. You know how much it is to raise a kid. I mean, it's insane.
More
It's
than
really,
we could ever afford. I'm telling
yeah,
you.
it's
But,
never ending. So,
yeah.
yeah, so that's my story of that.
Now, we only have 14 minutes left,
Yeah.
but I did want to touch on one last thing, which was you described your sister Laura and wanted to talk about what happened to her.
Well, let me ask you something, honey. I want to do a full video on that. Joy, would that be okay with you?
Yeah,
If,
we can definitely talk about that for
Okay,
sure.
yeah.
I don't want to get started on something that we're going to have to cut off in 13 minutes.
Oh
I'm
no,
really
with
totally.
my yeah, with my sister, I talked briefly with Zandra, and mainly I just kind of wanted to get my story of my sister because of domestic
Yeah,
violence.
yes,
Um,
that's what I want us to do. Would you be willing to do another video, that
Yeah,
a full length video on
because
that?
that does deserve more time, you know.
Yes, that's what I wanted to get at. Your life was so interesting and educational that I would love to get into if that would be okay with you, the next time, maybe next week or something like that, because I want to do a full length video on that, Joy, if you would
yeah,
be
yeah,
willing to do that.
we could definitely talk about that. Domestic violence, it's
Yes,
really it's near and dear to my heart.
yes.
My sister Laura, met somebody in October, and in December of the same year, he broke into her house and shot her 7 times and killed her. And I do want to say before this video ends, anybody, I don't care who you are, and this does not just go out to women because I'm going to tell you, even women assault men.
Oh
Yes,
yeah.
it's both
you know,
ways.
a lot of women put their hands on men. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter if you're a child or if you're the daughter of somebody that's being abused, whether your mom's abusing your dad or your dad
yeah.
is abusing your mom. I want to let there's a national domestic violence hotline, and that number is 1-800-799-7233. I'm going to say that again. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. And if you're in a situation where you cannot call 911 because you are being beat or you're in a trunk or if you're having to be quiet because you don't want somebody to hear you, all you have to do is text on your phone 88788 and you can be tracked with your phone.
That's
Say
good to
that
know.
again, Joy. That number, that 4-digit number again.
It's 5 digits. It's text 88788.
And I'll put
Uh,
both of those numbers in the description too
awesome.
for
Perfect.
people. Um But yeah, okay. So we've got 10 minutes left, so this is a good time to wrap up. I think until the next video, and then we'll get more into the discussion of your
Yes.
sister Laura. Um, but
This was a
yeah,
great introductory video on Joy
it
and what
absolutely
she went
was.
through.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you going
Yes.
into detail about some of these things because I know it probably wasn't pleasant to remember.
Thank you, Joy.
Yeah,
Seriously.
Well, it was my pleasure, ladies.
But there is Joy and I share something, and that is she knew somebody that she loved, which was her family, her sister, who got murdered, and through domestic violence. That's something I went through as well. That's going to be touched on later, but I want her to share with us because I'm really interested. And I know there's a lot of people out there that feel alone. And that's the purpose of, as to why we do this, because it's very important for you all to know. And Joy, I appreciate you for bringing that up because she has reminded us that we are not alone.
yeah,
I know that there's probably at least one person watching that has gone through this. And thank you so much, Joy, because you have opened that door and it's just a reminder y'all ain't alone because there's two people on here that have been through and one of them's direct and the other's indirect, but it hits close to home either way.
yeah.
It really does. Yeah.
All right. So, until next time, Joy, thanks again for joining us today. It was a
I love
pleasure.
you, Joy.
Yeah, I love you too. And
I love you both. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
okay,
Well,
well, thanks,
we're
and
looking.
we'll until the next video, we'll see you then.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Have a
Thank
great
you.
one, guys.
You
Bye
Thank you,
bye.
guys
Joy.
too.
That was God. That was intense.
Yeah, that was good.
And she is a joy.